We're live. This is happening. Okay. Let me set up a couple things here. Misha Love, welcome. We're going to give people a couple minutes here to kind of trickle in. There's Lauren. Caroline, welcome. Hey! What? You're laying down. That's
I'm in bed too. I think all your guests should actually do their interviews with you in bed. And if you need to rename the show, you could call it In Bed with Jess Smart Smiley. I'm just saying.
We'll get I don't even know what to say to that. I don't know if we want that. That's amazing.
It's like a gimmick. It's like karaoke carpool and all that. It's like,
yeah, and then they'll be like, it's some dude talking about drawing. Yeah. Wow. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. And I love your work. Holy cow.
Thank you.
Yes,
I love your stuff too.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I thought we might have to wait a second for people, but we already have tons of people.
Hi, everyone.
7 people. We have 7. 8 people. Hey, yeah, just thank you. I have a host set up to give us an introduction.
Okay.
Because this is like, I guess it's kind of like a show.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, well, here we go.
I think that's what you're starting.
This is Nikki.
Okay.
Welcome to Show and Tell. It's kind of like an interview, I guess. Jess is going to lay down in bed and visit with the wonderful illustrator Lauren Lowen. Ready, set, start visiting.
Start visiting, nice.
Thank you, Nikki. Okay, so yeah, thank you so much. I was just thinking, like, I think I've been following your Instagram for like 2 years, maybe.
Okay.
Probably a little longer.
Okay, it might be the same for you. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And I was going through. I scrolled the earliest message I could find that I sent to just say like, I love your work. It's awesome. I'm a fan. Was January 2017. So that was,
okay.
You know, like, so more than 2 years ago. Yeah. Anyway, for me, like, if I see work I like, people doing stuff that, you know, that I enjoy, like, it's important for me to let them know. So anyway, you've been very, very good, and I appreciate that. So
thank you. It's so nice to hear, you know, especially in the grand world of the web and social media, you know, to make those real life connections.
For sure. Yeah. Hey, I wanted to tell you something before we get into it. I found this out today. I've been getting into like just like what is Instagram and how does it work, and like how do you, like, I know how to suck at Instagram. How do you get better at Instagram? Like, how do you anyway, I've just been looking at stuff, and I found out today you have more than 14,000 followers, right?
Yes.
That's a lot of thousands, and that puts you in a category, I've got it right here, of 5.7% of users on Instagram.
Really?
Little sliver, and that's you. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I'm kind of surprised. You have to realize, like, I have friends who have like 250,000. So I feel like it's kind of like one of those things, which is horrible. It's like when you're 5,000, you feel like once I get to 10,000, I'll feel like I've made it. And then you don't. And then you're like, well, once I get to 15, I'll feel like I've made it. And yeah, it's horrible. It's like your career in a nutshell.
Well, it's just, I just think it's really interesting to see because numbers change. So why are they changing? And like, and what does that mean? And can we do anything about it? Should we do anything? It's just something to notice. And like, I mean, yeah, I have friends that have tons of followers, like you said, but they're 2.8% of
wow. Okay.
the Instagram population. Most of them are under 1,000 followers.
Okay.
Anyway, it's just an interesting observation. I think like you're in 5% category.
You know what's really interesting though is I just got done with doing a bunch of children's books for like, first I was on maternity leave, and then I had like 5 months of working on this series of books while I was trying to figure out being a mom. And it meant that I really had to dig into my archive of old work and kind of slow down. And I knew that was going to make my Instagram kind of like get off, you know, the algorithm.
Right.
So I have friends who have less followers, but their posts get like way more interaction and likes. So
Okay.
I think it's one of those things where it's like you can always find some way to be down on yourself, right? So it's best sometimes just to be like away, because someone might be like, you have more followers, and it's like, yeah, but it's kind of embarrassing. I have 14,000 followers, but I got less than 100 likes on that post. So what does that say?
It's weird, and that's what I'm saying. Like I'm trying to like see what's that about.
I think it's the algorithm, and it's one of those things where like I don't know, like actually having my son has made me realize I've had to like really, or just being a parent. And I think this is like a duh thing, but you really have to kind of step back from your ego.
Yeah. And
it's definitely like forced me, like I've just had to not care, even if it was uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I think that's healthy, right?
Yeah. It's easier said than done, but.
Sure. Yeah. That's good. Do you mind me asking how old your son is now?
Yeah. Oh, he's about to turn 9 months.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
And you have kids too, right? You have quite a few?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. One's taking a bath right next door, so we might hear her taking a bath, and then I've got two older kids. But yeah, being a parent is the best. And like it seems like 7 months, 8 months, like their personality starts coming out a bit.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so fun. You can kind of play with them a bit, and they kind of have some idea of what's going on, and that's fun.
Waving at students.
Oh, nice. Oh, that's good. Well, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, I completely agree. Like, it's been such a fun adventure, stress and all.
For sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anyone would say that's impressive, being a parent and doing anything else simultaneously, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Well, let's get in. Do you have anything you want to share? Do you just want to do questions?
I'm just like ready for questions. I'm really curious what you have to ask me or what people have to ask me.
Yeah. Well,
I guess I should explain in case people didn't check me out. I'm an illustrator in Nashville, and I went to Rhode Island School of Design with a BFA in illustration. I've been doing illustration and teaching illustration for over 10 years, and I'm currently represented by Jennifer Nelson Artists. So I guess I should like explain a little bit of what I do. And I do publishing and editorial, but a lot of what I do now is illustration for art licensing and products, which is really fun.
Yeah. Very cool.
So,
Thank you.
Now I'm ready.
No, that's good. I was going to give you a minute to get into that. Yeah, because you've got stuff showing up in Target and Walmart and Scholastic and Hallmark and like everywhere.
Yeah.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of think of it as like the folk art of today in a way. It's like if people used to decorate pottery and the blankets that kept them warm, and people still do, but it's just like now we're decorating pencil cases and shower curtains, like everyday items, but it's kind of like the art we interact with on a daily basis.
That's interesting. I like that. Folk art of our day. Yeah. I do have questions here, and then if like anyone here in the comments like wants to throw something out, we can get to those. So I have questions that I want to ask, but we'll do everyone else's questions, and we'll see if we have time. But so Justin Black, he asked, what are some of your favorite things to illustrate?
Ooh, well, if you've seen my page, I do a lot of animals wearing boots and glasses.
Yeah.
Usually playing musical instruments. So animals definitely, for sure. I think it's because they're so forgiving with stylization and abstraction, and that's something I really like. So when you're doing a dog or a cat, you can play with humans too, but I don't know why. I guess there's just something about animals that's so accessible to everyone. instead of like a person where you might kind of put on an identity to them. But yeah, definitely animals. Playing musical instruments, which is interesting because like I'm not really musical, so I don't know where that comes from. And basically just characters, and that's kind of like what my career has evolved from, is a love of doing characters. But I knew I didn't really want to do children's books when I graduated, so it was great that I found art licensing because it allowed me to take those characters and put them in things like fabric or greeting cards instead of trying to break into an industry where it was about, a book that's 30 pages and takes a long time. Like that wasn't something at the time I was interested in.
Yeah, but you just finished making some.
I did. They were my first children's books, and of course it's like four at once.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed them. I was worried I would get kind of burnt out, or, I was just nervous because even though I've been illustrating for over 10 years, I didn't know who I was as a children's book illustrator yet, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
So to suddenly have like 4 books and for it to be kind of go, and again, like with the birth of my son and everything, I really liked the way they came out. So it turned out to be a really good project, and I was a little nervous, but it was really fun. And I also have no idea when they come out. I probably should ask the publisher.
I was just looking because I actually got an advanced copy of, what is a verb, maybe?
You did?
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm trying to find when it comes out.
Oh
I didn't
my
get the
gosh.
others though, just that one.
Okay. I need to, oh, I didn't do verbs actually. That was another illustrator.
Verbs? Well, I might be confusing because it was one of yours, but
There's also like interjections, which I have to admit, I had to like go back to 3rd grade and be like, what's an interjection?
Oh man. I was gonna say something about animals. Like you love illustrating animals and characters, and like I remember like I've always doodled, and my friends and I would, just draw and it was always like these friendly characters. And so I grew up as a guy named Jess who drew like cutesy friendly things, so that was interesting. And I just read this great biography of Dr. Seuss.
Okay.
And he struggled with animals. Like he has a style of animal, right? Like you can tell it's a Seussian like creature.
Yeah.
But he lived near a zoo, and anytime he drew from life, he looked at an animal and drew it. The anatomy was off, like he could not line it up. Dr. Seuss. And then he would go home and he'd just be like, okay, I'm gonna draw a bear. And like it would look so much more like a bear, but also like a better, more imaginative bear.
Yeah.
It's interesting from even Dr. Seuss. That's cool to hear, I think.
Yeah, I do that too, actually. Like if I have to draw a frog or something, even if it's in my style, I'll usually draw it realistically first so I can understand the anatomy and the reality of it. And then it starts to like go through the Lauren filter and get stylized.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like that. I've got so many things I want to ask you, but I'm gonna stick with theirs. These are so good. Okay, so Pizzoli Girl, who is here, I saw her. She asks, what are some inspirations for your style?
Okay, so this is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
So I grew up wanting to do animation or comics, actually, believe it or not.
Okay.
And so when you were younger, did you get Wizard? Like
No.
Wizard magazine?
Well, my
Do you know
dad
what I'm talking about,
had it. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I would like take my brother's Wizards, and that's like basically how I learned to draw. And so a big influences when I was younger was obviously like pop culture, like everything from the cartoons we were watching to Hello Kitty and stuff. But I also, so my stuff is very kind of organic, and I always tell people it's kind of Zen-like because it's not super tight. It's kind of let it happen, so to speak, which sounds silly. But artists like Yoshitaka Amano was one of my biggest, earliest influences. He's the concept artist for like all the Final Fantasy art games.
Right.
I'm sorry, like the concept artist for all the Final Fantasy art games. Final Fantasy games. I don't know why I keep putting in extra art. Sorry. But I love Egon Schiele. And I love Alberto Giacometti, who was a Swiss artist. And these are people that are considered kind of more fine artists, which I think people are always shocked. And then, so it's kind of like combining that line work and that sort of spontaneity with this sort of the love of the more kind of, I guess you could say, lowbrow art, kind of graffiti, folk art, and stuff like that. So you kind of smush those two together, and that's a big part of where I get my inspiration from.
That's cool.
And then I would say like current artists I think somebody asked that on your page.
Yeah.
I really enjoy Nate Williams and Caleb Brown. They're two really heavy hitters, and I just really admire them from a professional standpoint because they do like everything. Like they're doing advertising and editorial, and they're doing children's books, and they're just doing so much and being themselves. And I would love, when I get farther along, for that to be my career, is just doing my own thing and people saying, we want you to do that, but just for us.
Yeah. And they both have kind of a more decorative, almost like a folky art style as well.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's cool. That's actually really cool to hear that you have like all those disparate influences and that you just kind of let it happen because it looks like that, but you wonder, do you like, is she agonizing over like where to put this and move this and then like rework the whole thing, or is part of the fun exploring that and figuring it out as you go?
Part of the fun and part of the stress.
And stress, yeah.
Yeah, it does mean that it's easy for me to like kind of psych myself out sometimes. I find when I was in college, my best things were my sketchbooks. And then when I would go to final, I always got intimidated and I overworked things. Like if I tried to redraw it, and you have to remember, like this is, we didn't have Procreate and all the digital stuff we have now. So it was like when I would sketch, I really couldn't preserve that sketch unless I did some of the more complicated Photoshop stuff, which at the time I wasn't doing. But yeah, it's like my finals were fine, but all my teachers and, fellow students were like, oh, but there's something about this sketch. And so I feel like I've spent almost my whole career trying to figure out how to capture that essence. Yeah. And I feel like I'm in the last few years, like just now getting to it.
Got it. That's cool. And it's really fun to look at. Obviously, everyone who's commented says something about how fun or bright or colorful or playful it is. You probably hear that a lot. Those words. Yeah, that's good.
But I'm glad that's what they get.
Right. Someone says, how do you know when your artwork is complete? Oh, this is memories managed. Yeah. How do you know?
Yeah, I saw that and I was trying to think about it. It's like kind of cliche because I hate to say that it's like, oh, you just know. But I've luckily done it so long that I kind of have like a somewhat of a process. And it usually, I think of it as kind of layers. So there's always like a base layer, and then there's a more complicated layer of maybe more solid shapes and such. Okay. And then there's usually a third layer, which is like line work and texture. And so for me, once I get the drawing down, the sketch, and I'm happy with it, and I start kind of putting the skin on, so to speak, and coloring it, usually when I've done that, and obviously I look and I make sure everything looks okay, I kind of give it a look over. Yeah. That's kind of the process I've developed, and it's taken a while. And then sometimes I know I'm done when I add something, and then I realize that's too much. Like, oh God, like that's when it's nice to be working digitally and just be like undo, undo, undo.
Right. Yeah.
And just kind of rewind a little bit.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's I was talking with another Illustrator friend not too long ago, and I realized that that kind of approach that you're talking about, and I guess in a different way I have a similar approach, but I think of it as like drawing from the inside out, like, okay, which is like kind of building this skeleton, this structure, this scaffolding of sorts. Maybe it's a conceptual thing, or maybe it's a textural thing, or whatever, and then you're building on, like you said, adding skin, and it's like once it's all done, all that stuff is on the surface, but it didn't start on top, like it built up. And I just think that's fascinating, because a lot of, like, I think maybe some of your students, like when they start off, they see the surface quality, the topical quality, and they think like that's it. Like you draw and it's just that thing when you start, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's funny that you mentioned, Inside Out, because I do think of it when I, started to, my work in college was very realistic. Some of it was playful, but a lot of my finals were very realistic, but it was like sculpture. I was working in black and white and I was kind of like pushing and pulling at it.
Mm-hmm.
And to some degree now when I work, especially digitally, it is sort of like sculpture where it's almost like in my mind, it's like a relief sculpture, where you're kind of, pulling out some areas and then letting some areas stay really raw. Interesting.
That's cool. Hey, I'm gonna pull up your account here real quick, if that's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'm gonna show you just because we've been talking about your work, describing it, but
I have some stuff. I have some stuff too.
Do you? Well, let's do that. Yeah, go for it.
So wait, like, should I just move the camera, or is there?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'll just show. This is like a portfolio book.
Cool.
But it just has kind of. It's like a little pizza truck and.
Oh wow.
There's my little boombox unicorn.
Yes.
So yeah, that was just like a glimpse in case. Yeah,
That's awesome. Oh, I love that.
What were you going to show?
Well, I was just going to pull up your Instagram. Sorry, I'm doing it one-handed.
No, that's okay.
Here it is. I got it. So here, there we go.
Yay.
You're doing, maybe as I go through, you're doing your 100 days project.
Yes.
Do you want to say something about that?
Yeah, so the only one I have right now is the Cookie Monster one.
Oh, whoops.
That's because everything else is on my story right now. And
then
I plan to do like a summary and kind of like post them in bigger chunks. And one of the reasons I do that is because with my agent, my Instagram feed is my portfolio. So I just want to make sure when people go to the agency website, it's not just like 10 really awfully drawn cartoon characters. Yeah, no, we did the studio I work in Nashville, we were doing this game, and it's just like to try to draw cartoon characters from memory, and it was really fun. And so I continued that night, and I did the Cookie Monster and just like cracked up. And I thought, as a joke, I made the joke like I should do this for my 100-day project, because I never do them because I just can't commit. Like I'm horrible. But I thought, well, this is funny, and it's literally some of these are taking me 20 seconds. So I've been rolling with that, and I've asked people to tell me like what they want to, like basically suggestions. So it's been a lot of fun.
They're so good, and I've like messaged about some that are just like dying over. They're so good.
Thanks. I'm kind of surprised, and then I have a couple that. Oh, I have a couple that have really stumped me. I'm like, I think I know those characters, but I'm not sure. But I can't look it up because then I'll know what they look like.
Right. No, it's great. Like your Hey Arnold, I had totally forgotten he existed. And then I was like looking at your drawing, I'm like, that's him. I remember him. You nailed it.
I know. And see, that was a show that was like, I don't know how old you are, but I'm gonna be 35 on May 2nd. And Hey Arnold was like just a little after my Nickelodeon time. Like I was Ren and Stimpy, Doug, Rugrats, like that was. Same. And so Hey Arnold came just like a little later. But I was kind of amazed like how good some of them have come out. And then some of them are just horrible.
That's really funny. No, they're a lot of fun to look at. And those are usually in your stories, right?
Yes. And then what I'll do is I'll be posting permanent, posts in my feed that kind of, I'll take a group of 10 or something and kind of do like one big summary.
Yeah. These are, this to me is like the quintessential Lauren Lowen look right here.
Thanks. Yeah, that's my little icon. So.
Yeah, it's perfect. Like it just kind of has everything going for it. Oh, these are so great. I love it. I love your work. Thanks for letting me pull up your feed there.
Yeah.
We do have just a couple. What's that?
I said too kind.
No. I love looking at it. Do you mind just answering a couple more? Is that okay?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. This is, and again, like, you're taking a chance on some guy we've talked on Instagram. I'm in bed. Hey, can I video call you in front of a bunch of people? You're awesome. You're a good sport. Okay, so Junior Pixelnaut asks, what's your favorite medium?
My favorite medium.
Yeah.
Well, if I have to be honest, like, I feel it's weird. I kind of feel like bad saying this, but I love Procreate now.
Ah, yeah. Okay.
Does that count as a medium? I think it does.
Yeah.
Or digital, but especially Procreate.
Right.
So when I graduated, I worked predominantly in gouache, acrylic gouache.
Cool. Yeah.
And it was so slick that people thought it was digital, like vector or something, which it wasn't. And like I said, I was always trying to grab the essence of my sketches.
Yeah.
And it kind of took me some experimentation, but then I realized I could do that with Photoshop. I was using a stylus and a Wacom tablet. And then once I switched over to using the iPad and the stylus and Procreate, that was a game changer, because that kind of combines the best parts about analog work, like the gouache painting I used to do, with the digital conveniences that I like about Photoshop. So that's just been so great, because it's portable and it's low pressure. I think honestly, a lot of times what people have to deal with when you're being an artist is the mind games you play with yourself.
Yeah. And
sometimes it's still hard for me to relax when I'm working with pencil. I mean, I shouldn't say pencil and paper, but so there's other times too. I'm really liking when I do work by hand. I'm getting more into, I used to work just like completely with gouache, and then I had Rebecca Green as a studio mate in Nashville.
Wow.
And she uses gouache and colored pencil, and I never like quite thought about that. I would always use these tiny brushes, and she was using colored pencil on top of the gouache. And so using that colored pencil, gouache, and then I'm even starting to mix a little bit of marker in it. So it's interesting. And it's funny because working with all the digital brushes digitally in that kind of playground has made me a more confident painter. And then I usually do something when I'm working with traditional media that makes me experiment when I'm working digitally. So I like to tell my students, like, you don't have to choose. In fact, if you do both, it's kind of nice, because one informs the other. You kind of bounce back and forth.
Right. Yeah. No, that's good. And I don't know, that's good for me to hear that you're pointing that out, because like, I think it would be easy to just like stick to a screen. But if like your teachers who makes this amazing artwork is saying like, oh, by the way, like, take some time off screen as well and just, see what happens. I think that's good. That's healthy.
Yeah. And I have to remind myself too, to do that. Like, I have that teacher voice in me, and I know you do workshops and stuff, so you probably know what I'm saying, but sometimes I do something and that little teacher voice is like, if you were one of your students, you wouldn't, like, you'd be telling them this. And it's like, God, okay.
Oh man, you got to take the high road. Yeah. Do you see that question from Feng?
Something, I'm guessing, I see like the last part of it, but I'm guessing you said something about studio mates to get you to think. Can you read that?
Yeah. This is Michael Rex. He's a children's book illustrator. Goodnight Goon and Fang Bone on Netflix. He did these.
Oh my gosh.
He says, how important is having coworkers or studio mates to get you to think in different ways? That's a good one.
Oh, I think, well, if you're a person who needs it, I think it's very important. I think, I'm sure there's people out there who are fine working by themselves, but I find with my studio mates in Nashville, it's incredibly helpful. Not just Vivian Mildenberg Berger, who's also a children's book illustrator. Like, she brought in these pan pastels from Europe, and now like 4 or 5 of us are experimenting with them. And
cool.
People are always like bringing in new supplies, or like I said, they'll be like, let's play this game. And I think a lot of it too is just us coming in and talking about being an illustrator.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about workshopping things too. We have people who are represented. Rebecca's moved to Japan, but we had like 3 artists that were represented by To Go To.
Okay.
And they were constantly like helping each other with problems with writing their books. And yeah, it's like it's really nice to have coworkers or studio mates just to kind of, whether it's blow off steam or bounce something off of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually for me, like students too, it's a different relationship, but I get my batteries recharged by being with them. And yeah, kind of like I get inspired by that energy. And when people are doing awesome stuff around you, you kind of want to be like, yeah, I want to do awesome stuff too.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's I mean, that's part of why I wanted to talk with you. I'm stuck in bed, but if I can talk to someone who's making awesome work and
Exactly, bring people to you. I love it.
yeah, so I appreciate it. Hey, I've got one question for myself, if that's okay.
Okay, go ahead. I've done like two. I've seriously done like 2 college Skype visits this week, so like this is nothing. I get to lay down and have the beer with this one. So
well, I've already gone twice as long as I thought I would. But thank you. Yeah, I was wondering if you could say something about your love for alternative music from the 1990s. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Oh my God. So I mean, seriously, is this because of my husband's band?
Yes, I love it. I love it.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay.
Your stories like here and there, and I'm like, this is so cool.
Oh my God. So I'm sorry for you guys who don't know. My husband, I'm in Nashville. My husband is a musician, and they do really well with this 90s cover band. And their shows are insane. If you're in Nashville, contact me. I'll get you VIP.
Ooh.
You know, it's like 1,000 people. It's really awesome. And I get to be the Blind Melon bead girl, which if you're like below the age of 30, you're not going to know who that is. And even if you're over 30, you may not know who it is, but look it up. And I get to like, exactly. So my favorite songs for them. Oh, and also since it's Nashville, it's crazy because there's, you know, there's people here in the band. It's kind of just like their fun side gig. Like drummer is also the drummer for Ben Folds full time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah, and other people like work in the music industry as professional reviewers or musicians or like touring with the Backstreet Boys. And one of them was with Casey Musgraves for a long time. So it's weird to think that like these people are totally legit.
Wow.
You hear cover band and you kind of think of like, meh.
Yeah.
Okay, my favorite songs for them to do is Jump Around by House of Pain. They do Vogue Live, and that's really good. They do Gonna Make You Sweat, like the Everybody Dance Now song by CNC Factory. That's another favorite.
Yeah.
And they do Sabotage by Beastie Boys, and I really like that one too.
Ooh.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. So like you have all these like professional music industry people, and this is just like they just get to play, I guess, for this band.
Yeah, they're all friends, and it just started, I think, for someone's birthday. She wanted all of her friends to get together and do this.
Yeah.
And then, and it was like, you know, they played at some bar, and it was kind of a smaller show, and then it just started to get momentum, and now they do. I mean, they actually got flown out for a corporate show in Tucson. Like yeah, and the March Madness people want them to play. It's so insane.
Jeez.
But it's a lot of fun. Yeah. So if you're ever in Nashville or if they're over your way, I'll let you know.
Yeah. Cool. That's
yeah.
If they ever stop by my bedroom, I'll be the first. I'll be first in line. I don't know what anyway. That's amazing.
So wait, I have to know though, is there a favorite 90s song that you have?
Oh gosh.
Like, is there one you would want them to play?
Ooh, yeah, what would I pick? I mean, I really do genuinely love 90s, like Tracy Chapman, Counting Crows, like even
They do Counting Crows.
They do? What do they do?
They do Mr. Jones. There is like a science to it. Like there's songs they want to play. There's songs that they want to play, but you know, it's like some of the audience is like our age or older, but a lot of them are, you know, like college age. And so there's some songs that the rule of the thumb is if they play a song, 90% of people should know it. Okay. And sometimes that means that there's really good songs from the 90s that get cut.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get that. Yeah. No, I think I'd want to hear like it's so corny, but I would want to hear Blues Traveler, like you know, run around. Is that what it's called? Run around? The harmonica. No. It's the
other one.
The hook brings you back. No. That's a different one. Maybe I've got my song mixed up.
They had like 2 hits, and I was getting confused.
Well, I mean, anytime you've got them showing up on your feed, they're doing a show. I'm like, this is the best surprise ever. It's
really awesome.
It's so good. Lauren, thank you so much. Is there anything you want to? What should we go buy? Who should we follow? When does your album drop? You know.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I'm guessing like the information's on the screen, but if you don't know, my Instagram is Lauren Minco Lowen, but my website is just laurenlowen.com. Again, I'm represented by Jennifer Nelson Artist. You can find them on Instagram and on their website. My children's books are coming out soon. I didn't write them, I just illustrated them. But that's awesome. So I have those coming out. I also have, I'll be posting it tomorrow, but a new project. I'm part of a new calendar that I did last year, the Wonder calendar, based off of the book franchise.
Oh, cool.
The next one is released, so I'll be showing that. I'll be at Blueprint. Well, my art will be at Blueprint in May. And this is really random. I'm going to be in Tokyo in late May. So if anyone's there, about? I'm taking my college students. So
no way.
And I have 2 of my studio mates that are going. So it's going to be awesome.
Oh, that's rad. Good for you. Oh man. Well, thank you again for joining me in my bedroom here. This is and you're laying down. I'll never get over that. You're amazing.
I think everyone needs to do this. I hope everyone does. Well, I know logistically it may not be possible, but I think that's like the format the show needs to go.
I'll encourage them. I'll be like, at least just lay down or at least sit down somewhere and we'll have a good time. Yeah.
Yeah, and they can have their dog or their cat or whatever. So
that's right. There you go. Lauren, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and
thanks for having me.
Yeah. And we'll see you later.
Okay. All right. Bye guys. Thanks for